The Alliance director asked Kevin to go on an assignment to infiltrate the Chicago School for the Natural Healing Arts because it was really a front to destroy the Alliance. She gave him a condensation pill to help him with his mission, but it turned out to be a madness pill. The director said hesitantly. By now, under the effects of the pill, Kevin couldn't control himself, although she had been married to the Alliance's executive director for many years. The two of them were husband and wife in name only. She was the only one who knew that her husband had suffered an injury several years before that had rendered him impotent. Since then, he had been obsessed with business and personal development, but he had no interest in women at all. Lily, who had just finished her live broadcast, was lying on the bed when her phone vibrated. It was a message from one of her fans. "Are you busy? Do you have time to go out to eat tomorrow?" he asked. He was the second highest tipper in Lily's live broadcast, right after Mighty Moose. "How about after my show tomorrow afternoon? We can have dinner," Lily replied with a smile emoji. What she really wanted was to hear from Mighty Moose. But for some reason, every time he finished making his donation, he would immediately leave the chat. He never gave her a chance to communicate with him. "As long as you have the time, that's fine with me. How about the Salix Leaf Hotel tomorrow evening at 6? He suggested. "No problem," Lily replied simply. "Okay, see you tomorrow night," he answered. And then he added a bouquet of roses emoji. After a while, Kevin gradually came back to his senses. He couldn't remember anything about what had happened during the night. He only remembered feeling that there was an endless amount of energy in his body that needed to be released. Well, didn't kill me, Kevin thought delightedly. I didn't expect the madness pill to have such an overpowering effect on me. As he was thinking about the pill he had taken the night before, Kevin suddenly looked down and saw that his entire body was still trembling violently. At the same time, he saw the director lying completely in his arms. Her beautiful face was still glowing. He didn't know how long the director had been awake. When he looked at her face, she was staring at him seductively. He could see a mix of complicated emotions in her eyes. "Did I wake you up at all last night?" Kevin thought to himself in disbelief. The madness pill had been so strong that he was still feeling a little dizzy. They lay there in silence until the director finally said faintly, "When you wake up, you'll have to leave." "Madam Director, Kevin didn't know what to say for a moment. He hurriedly let go of her and got out of bed. The director stared intently at Kevin. In fact, she had mixed feelings in her heart. On the one hand, she was in charge of thousands of people, but on the other, this young man had given her something that had been missing from her life for so long. But what had happened during the night had made the director feel satisfied and blissful. In spite of her high rank in the Alliance, the director was still a very young woman. Her husband would barely look at her most of the time. While she was thinking about all of these things, the director slipped on a fiery red dress. She turned her head and looked at Kevin, who was standing nearby looking extremely vulnerable. Neither of them said anything, but the atmosphere in the room got very mysterious. The director broke the silence and told Kevin, "I understand what the pill did to you last night, so I'm willing to let it go. But you should be smart enough to know that this is just between the two of us." Then she added, "If you say a word about this, your entire family will regret that you were ever born." If word ever got out that the director had an affair with the Alliance's messenger, not only would Kevin's life be in danger, but it would also harm her reputation. She was afraid of how it would turn out for her. "Don't worry, Madam Director. Our secret will never leave this room," Kevin said very sincerely. He wasn't a fool. What good would it do him to tell anyone about this? What made Kevin feel really fortunate was that she hadn't rejected him. That would have killed him. "The mission I gave you is very important and quite simple. Bring back the secret of the consolidation pill. I'll arrange for someone to send you back to the city immediately," the director said. She couldn't help but think about the previous night as she looked at Kevin a little bashfully. "I won't let you down," Kevin answered devotedly. When Kevin returned to Chicago, it was already past 7 o'clock in the evening. As soon as he got back to his condo, he got a call from Miranda Steele. "Kevin, come down to downtown General right away. Someone just beat Dalton up," Miranda sobbed. "Don't panic. I'll be right there, Kevin told her. His good mood immediately changed to distress. Kevin arrived at the hospital within an hour. When he saw Dalton's condition, he almost went berserk. Dalton was in a coma, and his entire body was covered with blood-stained bandages. The doctor said that his arms and legs were all broken, and even if he comes out of the coma, he may be bedridden for the rest of his life, Miranda told Kevin as tears flowed down her cheeks. Who did this? I'll kill them, Kevin yelled as he clenched his fist tightly. While we were eating at the Salix Leaf Hotel this evening, we saw Lily having dinner with a man, Miranda explained. At first, Dalton and I thought that they were friends, but then we saw him secretly put something in Lily's glass while she was in the bathroom. Dalton tried to get Lily to leave with us, but she said that it was none of our business, Miranda added. Then how did he get injured like this? Kevin asked. When he heard that Lily was involved, he had trouble staying calm. What made Kevin even more confused was that Lily should have been home doing her live stream. What was she doing having dinner with another man at the Salix Leaf Hotel? You know how Dalton is, Miranda replied. He was trying to protect your wife, but when he insisted that she leave, she refused and even poured a glass of wine on him. Dalton couldn't hold in his temper anymore. He wanted to force Lily to leave, but the man immediately stood up to stop him. They got into a fight and Dalton asked me to call for help, Miranda continued. But we didn't expect the guy to have so many powerful men with him. By the time I got back to the hotel, Dalton had been left in the street half dead, Miranda said as she wiped her tears. Now that he knew what had happened, Kevin got a determined look on his face and pulled out his phone to call Rachel. Kevin, what's going on? Rachel asked guiltily. Do you know what happened at the hotel this evening? Kevin asked her very calmly. Kevin was furious, but it was so deep inside him that it wasn't showing yet in his voice. I know, Rachel answered timidly. Why didn't you call me right away? Did you forget what I told you? Kevin asked her curtly. No, I'm sorry, Kevin. I was just thinking about your safety. The man who was having dinner with Lily this evening was Nolan Hill from the Hill family in Detroit. I understand, Kevin replied as he hung up the phone before Rachel could finish what she was saying. Have you heard of the Hill family in Detroit? Kevin asked Miranda. I've heard of them, she answered as she took a few deep breaths to try to control her emotions. They got where they are with a lot of hard work, but they're also developing their physical strength. They have a passionate interest in herbal medicine and the martial arts. Thanks, I understand, Kevin said as he started to call Lily on the phone. Kevin decided to call her because the whole thing had started as a result of her bad decision. So, you're out of prison? Lily asked him coldly. Kevin didn't feel like explaining what had happened with the myriads and Officer Emmett, so he ignored her question and got straight to the point. What happened at the hotel? Why didn't you listen to Dalton? Why should I listen to him? I was just eating with one of my fans. Dalton's the one who started the fight, and he only has himself to blame for getting beaten up, Lily said uneasily. She thought that Kevin had just gotten out of prison and was only calling to criticize her. She wondered if Kevin felt that Dalton was more important to him than she was. Do you know that because of your gullibility, Dalton almost lost his life? He's still in a coma, Kevin said as he gritted his teeth. Whether you were with that man or not, you must come to the hospital immediately. Why should I pay attention to you? Listen, Kevin, we're finished. I have my own life now. Don't call me again. Lily hung up the phone after she finished speaking. Kevin was so angry that he almost crushed his phone in his hand. He turned around and started to head out of the hospital room. Kevin, what are you going to do? Miranda asked him. Don't worry, Miranda. I'll get the guy who did this to Dalton, Kevin said gravely. Kevin felt that this was all his fault. If he and Dalton weren't so close, he wouldn't have tried to save Lily and he wouldn't be in the hospital right now. Kevin swore to take revenge for what the Hill family had done to his friend. While this was going on, Lily was in a luxurious private room at the Salix Leaf Hotel. She tossed her phone aside in frustration after she hung up with Kevin. Lily was already in a bad mood, but now that things were over with Kevin, she felt even worse. Nolan Hill was sitting beside her. dressed in a very expensive designer suit. He was chatting and laughing with another middle-aged man. Nolan was not only extremely wealthy, but he was also very handsome and had a good sense of humor. On top of that, he was very well educated. Some would call him perfect boyfriend material. Lily originally thought that she would be alone with Nolan this evening. She didn't expect to share him with this unattractive man, Dr. Spaulding. "I'm so lucky that Dr. Spaulding came to dinner this evening," Nolan said as he poured a glass of wine for his friend. The two of them had known each other for many years. Not long ago, Dr. Spaulding's family had developed a very powerful medicinal pill. That's why Nolan had invited him over to the hotel. Not only did he want to have a meal with his friend, but he also wanted to take the opportunity to ask him for a few of his pills. "How could I refuse an invitation from such a good friend?" Dr. Spaulding replied as he stared at Lily. After having a few more glasses of wine, Nolan decided to change the subject. "I heard that you may have access to a medicinal pill that could help me get past a sticking point in my training." "That's true," Dr. Spaulding replied. "But it took a lot of effort. We even had to find an apothecary to help us develop it." While he spoke, Dr. Spaulding swirled the wine in his glass. He never took his eyes off of Lily. "I wonder what I might have to do to get one," Nolan asked. He still hadn't picked up on Dr. Spaulding's intentions. "Seriously, Nolan? How could I let a few medicinal pills get in the way of our friendship?" The whole time Dr. Spaulding was talking, he was giving Lily a lewd smile. "It's just that I've been alone for quite a while. Would you be willing to let me spend some time with this beautiful creature?" Lily was very upset to hear him talking like this, and Nolan replied awkwardly, "You may not know this, but Lily is a good friend of mine, and she's very wholesome." Nolan wasn't ready to agree with Dr. Spaulding's request. "I won't press the matter, Nolan, but this medicinal pill..." Dr. Spaulding's voice trailed off, but Nolan knew what he was getting at. He'd been trying desperately for years to make some progress. How could he let this opportunity slip away? Dr. Spaulding held out a pill in his hand. As Nolan took it, he said, "Enjoy your evening." "Nolan, what kind of person are you? How could you do this to me?" Lily sobbed as she picked up her bag and headed towards the door.
Hi, Kevin here. If you're wondering what happens next, then stay tuned on the Pocket FM Universe channel for more episodes.